Hartford, Connecticut has been the home to one of the better environments in USL Championship. It's one that head coach Brendan Burke loves to play in front of, and they would love to pick up 3 points tonight. They're in dire straits now every game with the utmost urgency. For Hartford Athletic, happy to have you with us for this one as we take a look at the standings. It shows you why Hartford needs these points at home tonight against Detroit City. They are down near the bottom. They have some climbing to do. On the other side, Detroit City looking to maintain that little bit of a cushion they have on North Carolina above the playoff line. And we're happy to have you with us on CBS Sports Network alongside the ex-Urban Pro, Devin Kerr. I'm Joe Malfa. We're coming up now on that time of the year, Devin. The calendar will say August 1st tomorrow morning, where teams have separated themselves.
Every manager that we talk to in the USL Championship says that there's an 8 to 10 game window, mid-June to mid-August, that makes or breaks you. And we're in that right now. So let's start with Detroit City, who only has 1 win in their last 6 games. But why? Well, the mentality is changing for this team. The changeover from Trevor James to Danny Dicchio. Offensively, they've become better. Defensively, they're trying to tie that in, but the constant has always been Maxi Rodriguez up top. He marks in 28% of his matches for Detroit City, over 100 appearances. When you're struggling, this is the type of player that you lean on to help get you that positive result.
You mentioned that Detroit City's been better offensively under Danny Dicchio. That's where Hartford is looking to improve on the offensive end. Will take you ahead of the curve.
You have to have the understanding that any manager that comes into a new team and starts to change things, especially a lot of things, variables are going to pop up. That's certainly been the case for Brendan Burke and Hartford Athletic, but we have seen glimpses of what they're trying to get done. What they want to do is put the ball on the deck. They want to quickly move side to side and go vertical within their play. And that's the key thing here for Hartford Athletic. As they move forward, they want to be positive in nature, but most importantly, creating numbers and options once they get into the final third. Early on in the season, 1, maybe 2 guys that they enter the top of the 18. That's not the case anymore. Now, while it's not certainly on a regular basis, there are glimpses of success there. Now the question is, can consistency follow?
And the roller coaster ride of the USL Championship season, we're heading into one of the final downslopes. You've got a team who's winless in the last 6 in Hartford, a team winless in the last 4 in Detroit City. Urgency will be high. It's coming up next on CBS Sports Network. We are ready to get things going here at Trinity Health Stadium in Hartford, Connecticut. It's Hartford Athletic against Detroit City FC, and it's time to meet the 22 taking the field to begin things tonight, starting with the home side, Hartford Athletic.
Enjoy this center back pairing that Brendan Burke has brought back to us once again, and Joey Farrell and Joey Apanono. Farrell, he's got that physical presence, vocal, good leader. And Apanono, I like the way that he can step the tempo going forward, good passing range to help break the lines of that initial defensive effort put forth by the opposition. The midfield duo, Venki Azil and Bev Makingila, starting getting an understanding of each other, really help create tempo going forward, but I need more belief out of this front line. There's a ton of speed here, the tactical ability as well. It needs to reign supreme if they're going to find results. Detroit City FC and Danny Dicchio, a different look. We'll start on the back line here. Number one, Nate Steinwasser comes back in. That has been the ebb and flow between he and Carlos Saldana. And the big loss tonight, Stephen Carroll unavailable for personal reasons. Michael Bryant coming into the back line. His pairing next to Amu Mensah means a little bit more tempered and how they're going to attack this game. They can't be as aggressive. When in doubt, dump it. Reese Williams, James Murphy in the midfield, but this is about flexibility within this front six. A lot of guys that are capable on the ball, a lot of speed, and the ability to rotate within to find success.
You've got Detroit City a few points above the playoff line. You've got Hartford Athletic 9 points below it. Two teams who haven't won in quite a while trying to get back on track tonight. And we're underway in Hartford. It's Detroit City from right to left in the black and Hartford left to right in the green. Alongside Devin Kerr, I'm Joe Malva. Glad to have you with us for this one on CBS Sports Network as we continue the USL Summer of Soccer. Steinwasser in goal for Detroit City tonight. Something to note, they've gone back and forth. Danny Dicchio went from Steinwasser to Carlos Saldana and back again. Keep an eye on that all evening long, as Steinwasser's been the guy for Detroit City for the last few years, back before USL Championship as well. It's been a hallmark for them on the back end. Free kick goes Hartford's way. Never really during that time had he had his job security called into question, period. But it's been a little bit of a back and forth as of late. Saldana is somebody that Dicchio is familiar with from their time together in Sacramento, and he's shown well when he's popped in. Something to monitor as we go forward.
The good news is that you've got two number ones to pick from in your selection process if you're Danny Dicchio. The other side of it is, Joe, is you kind of get twofold out of it. One part is, okay, maybe you need that bump from the new goalkeeper who's got a little bit better quality. I've certainly seen overall performances fluctuate towards Carlos Saldana. However, it can also have a positive effect on the goalkeeper that's being put bench, who wants to fight back a little bit and say, okay, I need to get back into that quality form here and secure my spot. Right now, Danny Dicchio, the luxury of both, just trying to figure out what the best complement is.
In some cases, you'll have that cliche. If you have two, it means you don't have one. And to your point, it's the exact opposite here. You can't go wrong either way. Amu Mensah, 19th start of the season, anchoring this back line, been there every step of the way. Player who had a torn ACL and his 2022 early, bounced back in a big way last year, and has kept it going this year. Amu Mensah. Murphy through for Rodriguez. USL Cedeno, the guilty party on the foul, just came in this Tuesday. Move made with the Oakland roots. And his first game for Detroit City is against his other former team. He went from Hartford to Oakland to now Detroit. So familiar ground for USL Cedeno with his now new team. Again for Steinwasser, patience early on from Detroit City. This time out, a 1-0 defeat for Detroit at home against Sacramento, one of the top teams in the West. Oscillated between 1-1 draws and 1-0 losses over the last few weeks. 1-1 against Tampa Bay, 1-0 loss against Memphis, 1-1 against North Carolina, and that 1-0 against Sacramento. Cedeno has some options. Cedeno puts his foot through it, it's deflected, and it's out for a corner. That would have been a heck of a way to introduce yourself to your new teammates, but it's a corner nonetheless.
And the ability to possess on the ball for Detroit City. Obviously before Cecil Cedeno's arrival, it never hurts to add the quality with him, has just taken another step this year to really enhance what this team is capable of in the final third. It's not as direct, it doesn't necessarily need to be. Ball carrying capability, vision, everything a couple of notches up in 2024 due to the ideas that have been solidly induced to the mindset of Detroit City FC players.
Short from the corner, back to Cedeno on his preferred left foot. Easily guided away by Hartford. Kept alive by Villanueva. Floats one in, body still committed forward after the corner, and it's on top of the netting. No harm, no foul for Hartford. Brendan Burke in his first season in charge of Hartford. Spent last year as an assistant in MLS. Prior to that, 2 seasons as the head coach for Colorado Springs. Had a lot of success up in the mountains. See him come back into USL this year. Success hasn't been there early on. He had a lot to deal with this year, different injuries, different things that have popped up, and through it all, he's happy with the way the team is starting to stabilize now. Just a matter of parlaying that into urgency, to victories, to maybe making a late playoff push here.
Well, it's going to be one of the biggest things that, if not the biggest, that they have to fight in this situation.
Dekiel in his first season on the other side for Detroit City.
You go back to Brendan Burke for a second. It's, you know, you have slumps within a season. That's one thing, maybe poor form, right? There's another thing that you could face in dealing with injuries to players. But when it starts to be poor form and injuries and the idea that maybe some of the calls aren't going your direction, fully support that narrative, by the way. Lady Luck isn't on your side, right? You put all of that together, doesn't exactly make for the best mix of cocktails, right? And so they're fighting that. But that narrative to constantly try and then push back the other direction, that's what I'm talking about. That's where Brendan Burke is saying, listen, you know, we're getting glimpses. I alluded to that in the open. But how do I continuously maintain that positive thought process when we're not getting results? When we have guys that are constantly hanging your head, that's one of, if not the most difficult thing a player is going to have to fight. And certainly the ones that are on the field for him that have seen success at other stops with him previously.
And those glimpses of success, some earlier in the season, yes, he pointed to their win over Birmingham back in the second game of the season as maybe their most complete performance. But one recently that stuck out was their 2-2 draw against Charleston Battery, where they felt in many ways like they played Charleston off the pitch up until a red card that then allowed Charleston back into the game, finished 2-2. But he was very candid with us, peek behind the curtain, that he had a conversation with Ben Pierman, and the opposing head coach is raving about the way you're playing. It means you're doing something right, even though things didn't go your way in the end. Sheldon for Detroit. Through again for Cedeno, who's been very active, Cedeno, in the early going. For a player who just arrived on Tuesday with the group. 36 hours since that was made official. Ain't like a glove. Free kick given for Hartford down that far side. Michi Ngalina trying to battle through. 6 goals on the season for Ngalina. Hasn't quite reached the top end form that he had under Brendan Burke in Colorado Springs, but that goes again to the larger conversation for Hartford that they as a group haven't hit their stride offensively. You pointed out what you pointed out in the open with the ahead of the curve segment. There's things that they can improve upon. We're seeing glimpses, and part of that is getting Galena involved in a bigger way.
The frustration starts to boil over, and you're not as interested in that step, in that next play, in the ability to press, in the physical side of the game as the match starts to prolong itself and the success doesn't follow. It's very difficult, the mental side of the game.
Rodriguez.
The other side of that is for Mission Galena specifically, how he's been utilized in such a different fashion every single game. Playing him up top in the 9, playing him deep on the right, moving him more advanced on the left, allowing him to invert. While capable of all of that, when you can't establish regular patterns for him, that means everybody else is chasing as well, right? So you're fighting this one side of things of it's not going well for us, but in terms of the specific game plan within the 90 minutes, you're also changing that. So it's almost impossible to find any sort of regular pattern within your play, which is why his performance have also been up and down.
Cedeno giving away. Haven't seen much of Hartford on the ball through 10 minutes. 30% of the possession only going Hartford's way. Been under it a little bit to get things going. Capononu on loan this season from FC Cincinnati. Dangerous there from Nakangila, turned right into the pressure. There's a nice sense of familiarity that there has been all season long here on the Hartford side, and in some ways people have joked that it's Colorado Springs East, if you will. Brendan Burke coming over as the head coach. You've got 4 guys in the starting lineup tonight who played for him there, but it's a little bit different when you start talking about getting the right mixture of players versus just having familiar guys. His familiar faces have shown out well this year, the likes of Galena and Beckford, so on and so forth, but it's a matter of getting the whole group calculus right. Capononu looking through, flicked on by Beckford. Dieng. Momo Dieng wins it clean. Hey, Dikio had a good look at it. He wasn't happy. He continues nonetheless for Galena. Overlap from Hodge. Switched through for Butati, but too much on it.
A very impressive pressure from Detroit City. Just 12 minutes into this match. That's that flexibility I talked about on that front line where you can get a James Murphy to step into the midfield, push the pressure up a little bit higher. That frees Maxi Rodriguez and Ben Morris to chase the game. Conversely, when they're dropped in deep, you can take that front line, drop it into the midfield in front of those two, and then close it in as Cedeno and Abdullah Jope start to pressure from the outside. I would say that the success of them going forward is going to be predicated on that man right there, both Matt Sheldon on the right and Villanueva on the left. When they start to come and they pinch, you've got to get those outside backs high to create numbers on the width.
Kingila. Capononu striding through. Again for Budati. This time it connects. Budati cuts it back. Here's to Shane Beckford. First dangerous look going forward for Hartford. Yields a corner.
That's good ball movement by Hartford Athletic, but proper defensive coverage by Devin Mensah on the near post. Again, when it breaks down, even though that space is being vacated by Villanueva, and great recognition, by the way, by Budati to get on his horse and explode into it. The ability for that back line and shift over. The entire identity of Detroit City built on its defensive efforts.
Comfortably away from Steinwasser. Galena retrieves, drops it back, a wicked deflection, and it's out for a corner. Beckford, another one of those players who had the season of his career with Colorado Springs under Brendan Burke. It was back in 2021. 5 goals, 7 assists that season. Hasn't recaptured that form yet. 2 goals and an assist this year. More on him in a bit. Another in-swinger, dropped in near Steinwasser, and it's out for a goal kick. Having a chat amongst that back line with Michael Bryant. Crisis averted. Back to Beckford. Somebody that was pointed out by name in our conversation with Brendan Burke this week, where he's really happy with what he's done this year and shown this year, even though that stat line, as I mentioned, is just 2 goals and an assist. It's getting into the dangerous areas. It's breaking down opposing back lines. He's creating everything up until that final product, and in many cases, the final product not being there yet isn't entirely his fault. So he's shown a maturity and a growth in that regard that has also gotten him into the Jamaican national team picture. He played in 2 World Cup qualifiers for them this past June.
I would also add that his work rate on the defensive side of the ball, too. A player that historically, when you looked at him, speed was certainly the conversation, his ability to stretch coming the other way, and what quality can he produce 30 yards and in. But as he tracks back just in front of us, right, that's the movement for me. The willingness to put in that hard work on the other side of the ball that has allowed him to gain the manager's attention.
Up to 4 caps now for Jamaica. Didn't make the cut for the Copa America roster, but again, did make those 2 appearances in June World Cup qualifying right before Copa America. Cedeno quickly through for Rodriguez, and that's out for a goal kick. Cedeno is somebody that we've seen a lot in a big way for the Oakland Roots this year and the success they've had, 3rd place right now in the West. You know his skill set, and you know the skill set of Maxi Rodriguez, and it just seems like Rodriguez and Cedeno could be a match made in heaven for the interplay that we're going to see between the 2.
Licking your chops at that prospect, right?
A little bit of it there.
The one question for me would be is, do you need a 9 in that conversation? I mean, it's certainly been something that Detroit City is looking for ever since they entered into USL Championship play back into 2022. They found a way to recreate success in the final third. Never truly had that go-to striker up top. Is that the case with Jacil Cedeno and Maxi Rodriguez? I believe it is still. And that conversation existed prior to Cedeno's arrival. It just adds more quality, more options as you move forward. You know, we just discussed the 2-way work rate of Deshane Beckford. You're seeing something quite similar for Jacil Cedeno, and I sat down with him 2 weeks ago when he was still a part of the Oakland Roots squad in the Western Conference, and I asked him point blank, is this the best form that we've seen you in terms of quality in the United States? Absolutely, he answered. This is the happiest I've been. It's the most comfortable I've felt within the culture, within my environment. So if you can kind of stoke that in the absence of an out-and-out goal scorer, you're talking about something different. You add that quality in the 9, that's a very different conversation where you're not discussing Detroit hovering around the playoff line. Now you're talking about a real contender.
And it's poetic that his first appearance now for Detroit is here in Hartford, because I'll take you back a couple of years ago when he was just getting his start here in Hartford. At the time, Tab Ramos, the head coach, had a conversation with Coach Ramos back then about Cedeno, because it was right when he was starting to break out as a starter for Hartford. And I asked him what he's seen from Cedeno and starting to find his way in the team. He said, I'll be honest, I was ready to cut him when I came in this year as the head coach. He didn't seem to be a player who we had in our plans. I had a conversation with him that we would keep him around because I liked how he practiced. He went all out every single practice. We knew it would make the guys better. And then all of a sudden, it clicked. He only kept him to be a practice player. He became a starter. Then he goes to the Roots and he breaks out. And now he's here in Detroit, back where it all started in Hartford. Comes back for Williams. Ended up being a really good move for the Oakland Roots at the time. They had sent Eduardo Rito over Hartford's way, bounced around, ended up in Phoenix. Cedeno became a mainstay. Abdoulaye Diop, 24-year-old, his 3rd season now with Detroit City. 18th start today. That's a commonality as you go through the roster for Detroit City. Basically everybody you mentioned, 15 to 18 starts. It's been a pretty consistent starting 11 all year long, with the exception today of Cedeno making his debut in the club. Missing Stephen Carroll on the back line for personal reasons, as you mentioned earlier, Devin. That's a big loss, but hasn't started out in any negative way yet. Only 20 minutes in. Budati has some options here. Yunus Budati plays it across. Hit well toward the back post, and it's touched around by Steinwasser. Not sure if that was a shot or a cross, but it turned out to be a danger for Hartford.
A little surprised that Yunus Budati didn't try and slip this through for Momo Dieng. Wondered if he was in an offside position. Loves the little cut back in right there. That separation. He's got that window over the right shoulder where he opened up the space between Amu Mensah and Michael Bryan on the back line. Still able to get an opportunity out of it, but this is what Brendan Burke talks about. He feels like the quality is starting to take steps as they move forward. Difference, he'd rather have that 8 yards out than 20+ yards out, which is what they're able to grab out of it.
Third corner, and the whistle blows before anything else transpires. Goes against Kangila, or Tristan Hodge, pardon me. Thomas Van Kazeel in the middle, who had that opportunity and generated that chance there. Player who Brendan Burke says maybe lacks a dynamic component. More of a player who's suited to have dynamic guys around him. He'll do a lot of the things that don't show up in the stat sheet. Everything he does makes the life easier for everybody around him. As he stepped up into the midfield off that back line, it's helped create more for everybody else. Two-time All-League player, once second team, once first team, back in his time with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
It's more so the variety of which he's been asked to do it in as well. A very defensive-minded Bob Lilly squad for 3 years that saw him be the mainstay on the back line of a 3 or 4 unit defensive front. Big acquisition for San Diego Loyal in 2021. Injury-ridden year, saw him fall out of favor, then transfers over to Birmingham Legion under Tommy Sohn. Again, a lot of variability within that where he got stuck behind the quality midfield. Same conversation of Fanuel Kavita on the back line. Rowdies, same thing, back and forth. Finally in Hartford, feels like he's settled down a little bit, and a guy who, when you look around the league, still possesses that all-league quality.
Wide for Budati. Handling Villanueva. Budati, too much. Call for the foul. Looking for his first victory since June 15th at home over Pittsburgh. They've been a much different team at home versus on the road this year. 1-8 road record, 4-3-3 at home. Brendan Burke, very complimentary of the supporters here in Hartford that he's gotten to know now in his first season. He sort of went into the histories of the club a bit. Ever since they came into USL Championship, they've never really been a team who's been at the top, except for the COVID year. That happened to be the one year where they were at the top of their division when things were reshuffled, but he said it was an exception. They were in with a lot of the MLS2 teams and no fans. Outside of that year, they've always been near the playoff line and typically missed out when all was said and done. But through it all, these fans are here in droves. He said they're loud. It's some of the best environments he's been a part of in this league, and it's contributed to that big disparity between the home and road record. Kick taken quickly. Dieng calling for it, screaming for it with the hand in the air. It's a couple of times now that Dieng has been vehemently calling for it and hasn't gotten it. See if they can get him more involved as we get further and further into this first half. Now it's sent his way. Dieng just over his head, but there's somebody behind him to clean it all up, and Hartford leads 1-0. It's to Shane Beckford with his third of the season.
The whole conversation for Hartford Athletic is when they do move forward, and they can be venomous in nature, they have to have options inside the top of the 18. Good job slowing down the route of play on the outside, and as they do, that allows 3 separate players to enter the conversation inside the top of the box. Great vision here by Danny Barrera, and he has the luxury, as he pings this thing back across, if you hit it with enough pace, you're gonna get 2 bites out of it.
Near post run, and Dieng is not able to get onto it, but great delayed back post run by Deshane Beckford, who skirts that onside line. Comes at the perfect angle to then redirect into the bottom corner. Brendan Burke has said it's been coming. It has arrived 24 minutes in.
Beckford with his third for Barrera. It's his first assist of the season. He's got 51 in his USL Championship career, and that one breaks a tie for third place with Aidan Quinn. Now in third place in this league's history on his own. Detroit City, we came to know them over the last couple of years under Trevor James as a team who's incredibly difficult to break down, don't concede all that much. Danny Dicchio has brought a different mindset to the group. He's spoken at length about wanting to play more offensively attractive football, and he's okay giving up 2 if it means you score 3. That's what he's all about. And it's happened this year. There's been a lot of moments where in games they've conceded more than they have last year. It's about marrying the two, the old style with the new. They haven't quite gotten that balance right yet.
Some of those comments remind me of Brendan Burke and his ideas that matriculated into Colorado Springs. I joked with him at one point in time. It feels like you could, you know, kind of score at will, but also concede at will. He said, listen, I don't mind if we give up 99 as long as we score 100. Now, mind you, that was very, very early on at his tenure for Switchbacks FC, but yeah, the ideas going forward for Detroit City much better, for sure. I mentioned flexibility coming in. I would also utilize the word aggression to describe them now, where historically this was a team that was defensively solid. They sat, absorbed pressure, and would pick and choose their moments. The difference is in 2024, those moments are much more aplenty. You know, they have the ability, not just through a Maxi Rodriguez, but an advancement out of the midfield from a Ryan Williams, from an Abdoulaye Diop. They can shape shift much more frequently, but be efficient in doing so. Instead of sitting in the 3 with a 5-man midfield and maybe 1 bumps up, all of a sudden, they can give you 4 different looks moving forward. They're just trying to bridge the gap between the defensive unit and the attacking unit and make that quality of performance more regular.
Villanueva over to Jope. Jope loops it in. You've got 2 very polar opposites here in Hartford and Detroit City as part of that conversation. 2 teams with first-year head coaches who are tinkering with new pieces and new styles. It's always good to learn your lessons while you're picking up points. That's what Detroit was able to do. Hartford, not so much, and that's why you've got 2 teams in different positions. Detroit City still in a playoff spot. Hartford 9 points back. 2 teams who are in that same boat. First-year head coaches, some new faces, and this new face, Momo Dieng, is well offside here. 6th start of the season, 16 appearances overall. 20-year-old from Senegal in his first professional season. And Brendan Burke had extremely high praise for Dieng. It caught me by surprise, his comments this week, Brendan Burke. He said that he would be surprised, so long as Dieng stays healthy and continues on his trajectory, he'd be surprised if that's a player who doesn't make it to Europe in his career.
Bold words from manager from Hartford Athletic, though, to be fair. Anyone who makes a statement like that, you would hope could back it up. And with his time at Philadelphia Union, certainly the young talent that he brought into Colorado Springs, he's done so. All of the talent that you've seen take steps to whether another level in the United States or going abroad, you're talking about double-digit players, right? Your Austin Trustees, your Brendan Aronsons, right? Your Matt Reals, guys that, again, make careers kind of wherever they go. Of course, another bold statement that he made about a striker who had had success prior to his arrival in Colorado Springs, to be fair. He was in the Sporting Kansas City organization with their 2 squad, then known as Swope Park Rangers. Haji Berry. Haji Berry breaking league records left and right, still currently tied for the most goals in a single season at 25 for his 2021 efforts. Tied with Cameron Lancaster of Louisville City in 2018. Haji Berry taking his talents to Egypt.
You can just look on the field tonight. Mishi and Galena guy that Brendan Burke oversaw in his development in Philadelphia, and then from there in Colorado Springs. Galina spent the last year between Turkey and Norway before making his way back to USL Championship and back under the guidance of Burke.
Interesting, just a little bit surprised tonight, not in a bad way, but a little surprised at how high James Murphy has come in some of their defensive press. A lot of times you'll see that running eight and Abdullah Job start to bridge that gap, but the way that they've done it tonight, flatten out the shape a little bit. They've got the two strikers trying to push it to the outside. So as Murphy comes up underneath, he's eliminating that outlet ball through the middle. It's well done. Just got to be quicker on the rotation to the flanks.
It's a good ball in. Doesn't quite hit the mark in the end for Detroit City. Nueva's had some positive moments in this one. A free kick on the way. If you can't watch the match, turn on Sirius XM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including USL All Access Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Plus your live matches from the USL, MLS, Premier League, and more, all on Sirius XM FC 157 and the Sirius XM app. Eddie Dikio, part of the show with you guys this week. Ahead of this matchup, ahead of Detroit's matchup on the weekend against Rhode Island. Ryan Williams lost it in. A lot of traffic there near the penalty spot. Still bouncing around, finally cleared by Hartford. Corrigan says play on. Some numbers here for Hartford and space to work with. It's Beckford with the goal already, passed along, and Dieng thought somebody was behind him, but there wasn't, and the offside flag came up anyway.
I'm pretty sure the initial ball that made its way through to Shane Beckford, he was in an offside position. Shocked that Momo Dieng actually lets this run for Michi and Galina. It's just prior to that ball being played, right there, in which Momo Dieng had just stepped over that gray area of a line on the back line. Again, that's some of the separation that I was talking about, though, that Detroit City is struggling with here tonight. Stephen Carroll unavailable for selection due to personal reasons. It's not something that happens frequently. Only 9 times since Detroit City's inclusion into USL Championship play have they been without the services of Stephen Carroll in league play. Only once have they been able to come out with a victory. So Devin Amu-Mensah, his running mate Michael Bryant on the right side, just struggling with shape a little bit. We've seen the separation between the two.
Villanueva drives it in front. Merrill has it.
I would also add that comments coming in was that their performances needed to be a little bit more tempered, maybe not as aggressive, and we haven't seen that. So Michael Bryant, who's more than capable, he's one of the biggest Swiss Army knives in this league, to be fair. Top quality at any position that you want to put him in. But Sheldon's had to drop in and cover him. We've seen both Reese Williams and James Murphy drop down in to help lock down some of that space in between the back line. Just a bit too adventurous coming up high, which is opening up space in behind.
Still a hefty advantage possession-wise for Detroit City, 60-40 in their favor, but haven't yet had a shot on target. Dieng settles, heavy touch from Dieng. Dottie. On the half-hour mark here in Hartford, alongside the ex-German pro Devin Kerr. I'm Joe Malfa, happy to have you with us for yet another production of the USL Summer of Soccer on CBS Sports Network. Hartford and Detroit, two teams that have gone a little while without a win. 6 games for Hartford, 4 games for Detroit City. Detroit City still comfortably in a playoff spot, and they have games in hand on teams around them. It's one of the quirks that we've seen this year, schedule-wise. They've only played 18 coming in. Most other teams already at 20, 21 plus. Hartford on the other side They're 9 points back of a playoff spot. They also had a game in hand on teams above them. Can get within 6 points on the playoff spot here tonight with a victory. And they have that 1-0 lead courtesy of Shane Beckford's goal 10 minutes ago.
To your point, though, that's a two-way conversation. Number one, have the games in hand, the ability to chase down people in front of you. The other side of that is a bird in the hand is not always worth two in the bush, right? They're about to play 8 games in 32 days. And talking to Danny Dicchio on USL All Access on SiriusXM FC, great interview, by the way. He was very open about his time in Detroit City so far. You know, taking the foundation that was built by Trevor James, who's obviously moved into the front office now, but expanding upon that hasn't been easy, certainly been fun. I said, what's the message? Because you need to explain to them how difficult this road, or excuse me, this stretch of games, both home and away, is going to be. But you also can't get too far down the rabbit hole. You have to stay focused on the next match in front of you. He said, no, it's about positivity. It's about believing in ourselves and showing us that, listen, we do in fact have success. The results are there. We have been able to change for the better in a lot of areas. Just maintaining that belief through this difficult stretch that has only seen 1 win in their last 6 matches.
Definitely get into the whole bird in hand, two in the bush conversation, but we've seen it this year. Teams catch fire and take that elevator to the top. We've seen it in the Eastern Conference. Rhode Island, the team that was in second to last, where Hartford currently is right now. They've ascended now to a tie for 6th place, where they're 3 points back of Birmingham in 5th. Then out west, Oakland Roots at one point were second to last, only above El Paso Locomotive, and now they're sitting in 3rd place. So we've seen it on both sides, both conferences, that a team each way has gone from the near bottom to the near top. If you hit a good stretch of form, that's what Hartford's looking for, but what they're not looking for is this, a team that has had bad injury luck all season.
Comes up a little lame here. Dottie with the pull up over the outside, very active. And that is not what you want to see if you're Brendan Burke. Any player or manager will tell you that move right there, hamstring, coming up lane. The hope is that maybe when you just overly stretch, you feel a little tingling, and that's all it really is. Tweaked a nerve, just a touch, and your body sends a shock, and that's it. That's what you're hoping for right now if you're a Hartford Athletic fan.
Though the body language that we've continued to see since then hasn't been very positive from Budati. And it looks like he's done. He just called somebody over from the corner. All for Budati. Emmanuel Samadia is going to replace Budati on that back line as Hartford looks to continue defending this 1-0 lead.
They did a really good job of establishing possession up high and getting numbers into the box. I love the fact that you've got multiple options here. And again, Danny Barrera, he doesn't have to put it on the dime because he has the ability to pick exactly which player that he wants. If he misses on the first run, he's got the secondary run into Shane Beckford on the backside. And for Hartford Athletic, who have struggled away from home, when they've come back, not only have they been absolutely incredible on the home ground, but they are unbeaten in their last 4 when scoring the opening goal in the game. 3 wins to their name.
Number 29, Emmanuel Samadia. Replacing number 2, Yunus Budati.
Samadia comes in to make his 14th appearance, 5 of those starts, signed back in November. His first year in USL Championship, spent the last 3 years in Israel's 2nd division. 19 caps, 4 assists for Sierra Leone. started their 2 World Cup qualifiers back in June with a pair of assists in those 2 games for Sierra Leone. Slot in that right back position, like for like with Budati. And it's just another moment of adversity and flux. That was the word that Brendan Burke used. They've been in flux all season long because of a lot of the bad luck they've had. You alluded to it earlier, whether it's been refereeing decisions or bad luck with hitting the post or injuries like that. Here you are, up 1-0 at home, 38th minute, boom, somebody goes down. That's just been the season for Hartford, and in a way it's exhausting, and they've still found a way through it to be in a position where they can still make a run, and the live table 6 points back of a playoff spot. Corner from Cedeno. Good delivery from Cedeno. Danger in front. Detroit City claiming it hit off an arm. Joey Farrell back defending. Referees saw it differently. Play on. Free kick coming for Detroit City. They've had their most dangerous moments coming down that right side, be it Murphy, Sheldon, or Cedeno.
Space atop the 18. One wonders as to whether or not they try and take advantage of it for the past 2.5 years. Detroit City and their trickery have done well, though recognized now by Danny Barrera, just inside the elbow. That magical wand of a left foot that Jacil Cedeno possesses. I would add that Ben Morris wide open atop the box.
And we'll do it again. Morris has been the author of some terrific finishes from distance as well, as he creeps there alone at the semicircle still. Two goals and 4 assists this season for Ben Morris. Finally, knock on wood, staying healthy as he's found his home here in Detroit City. 2022 was his first pro season in which he played more than 4 games. Ended up starting 30 last year and has started 17 now this year. Cedeno drives it. He's going to stay in for now. Cleared by Hartford. Here's Morris, overlap from Villanueva. He uses it. Villanueva's cross deflected. Yang clears centrally. Gives it up for Cedeno.
Like the way the players wear their socks now, white bottom, colored top, but they're actually cut.
I was gonna say the cut. That's something
throws you a curve.
Throws people a curve, but there's a reason for it. No, because there's a reason for it. I'm good with it. Helps the circulation.
Sure it does.
Here's how it looks. Here's Job at the end line. Stays in for him, out for a corner. Well, how did you wear it?
Not like that. I was very particular, though. I didn't like layers upon layers. Like, I knew guys that would wear the regular socks and then white socks over the top because they liked the padding in their feet. I wanted the least amount on my foot. Like, I bet decimate my poor little pinky toes. The best touch that I could gather.
Well, I'd beg you to put your shoes on now in the booth. Cedeno. They've had a lot of wasteful opportunities now on set piece at Detroit City. They're still looking for their first shot on target. They've had 3 corners. They've had a couple of wide free kicks. 3 shots, none on target. 0.11 expected goals to this point. Football 2024 is here. Live your dream, rep your team, and play as your favorite USL Championship club. eFootball, free to play. Download now. I know you don't play eFootball. That's probably beyond your bandwidth. Anything past Sega Genesis is probably too late for you.
First of all, that's aggressive, rude, but also appreciated for dating me. Yeah. The last time that a gaming console was in conversation in the budget, you were still probably in the womb. Let's put it that way.
Sheldon. It's been a lot of this from Detroit City tonight. A lot of patience, a lot of playing it back, a lot of struggles with breaking down the lines of Hartford Athletic. Are you seeing, Devin, any similarities for this Hartford team to those games that Brendan Burke pointed to where they've been at their best? Birmingham, yes. Charleston, you're seeing similarities tonight to those games?
There's more structure, there's more commitment to each individual position, but when they want to take a chance going forward, good coverage. You know, the idea that, okay, we want to advance our outside backs high and you want to go with pace. That's great, but when it breaks down, what does the space look like that you've stepped out of? So much better job defensively, moving that line higher, not necessarily chasing pressure, but making sure that when that chance doesn't play itself out, when Detroit City picks up possession and starts to come the other way, they've closed those gaps in the midfield. They've created proper marking. So most of the possession that you've seen from Detroit City is what you're seeing right now. Side to side, not as much vertical. I would also say that the front line from Detroit City needs a little boost right now. Ben Morris and Maxi Rodriguez, although clean on the ball, haven't really given this team a lot of options going forward. That's not all their fault, but they don't have any sort of presence up top, so it is a little bit predictable in the build right now coming through the midfield.
3 minutes of stoppage time tacked on. How does that change going forward?
Yeah. So Maxi Rodriguez is always going to be the guy that comes underneath. He's great with his back to goal, the ability to play into his feet. To me, that comes into either being more aggressive on the width to make Hartford stretch themselves out. That's when you can take advantage of the numbers within the midfield, or you've got to find a way to get Ben Morris higher or eventually make a change up top to try and give yourself some sort of luxury of that one target player up top in the 9. I like the idea of recreating it this way, but right now they've got to change it up.
Sheldon, good service here. It was more promising as Job got in behind, but Rivero has it. The break, we'll take a look ahead at what's remaining in this USL Summer of Soccer. Hard to believe that when we go to sleep tonight and wake up, it'll be August 1st tomorrow, and it's all winding down. Take a look at highlights from this first half and stats as well. That weird paradox every season where it feels like opening weekend was so long ago, but at the same time, it's like, how is it August already? Maybe I'm the only one who feels that way, but it's that weird in between where it's like, how are we here already? But it's also felt like it's taken forever. Williams, a good ball out wide. Still lacking that entry, Detroit City. Dieng out of steam. Beckford has switched with Galena. Is down on this near side now. minutes come and gone. A look at the watch from Matthew Corrigan, and at the break, it's Hartford 1, Detroit City nothing.
It's a really good look at the tail end of the first half of what Danny Dicchio would like his team to do. Great job getting some space on the outside. Again, predictability is something that they struggled with over the past couple of seasons. To continue to get better in the final third, that's where they're at their best, is when they're less predictable in their actions. Brendan Burke, Hartford Athletic, I wouldn't change a thing except decision-making 30 yards and in. They created enough opportunities going forward. This is a Detroit City team that grows through their matches. You do not want to give them the ability to get back into a match. Be more executionary. 20 yards and in, you can win this game.
Well, Hartford executed just the once, and so far that's enough. Deshane Beckford, 23rd minute, his third goal of the season. It has Hartford in the lead, and it has them creeping closer to that playoff line on the live table. They have some climbing to do, and this would go a long way in helping their chances. Detroit City, winless in their last 4. They have to find some sort of response in half number 2. For now, it's Hartford 1, Detroit City nothing. Scott Dillon having as good a time as anybody here at the break with his side. Hartford Athletic up 1-0 on Detroit City FC as this summer of soccer continues here in USL Championship. Happy to have you with us for it. Alongside Devin Kerr, I am Joe Malfa. Devin, we're coming down to the end of this summer of soccer now, but we still have plenty in store before we reach that conclusion.
Hard to believe that when I joined in 2018, there were only 4 games on national television. And now we're approaching the realm of 30 plus between the relationship USL on CBS as well as ESPN. So let's talk about some of those games that are still up and coming, even though we've seen some great ones in 2024. On the weekend, the big one, as I call it, Detroit City hosting Rhode Island FC on CBS. Two teams that are looking for form. Well, it seems that Rhode Island might have found it early on this season. Sort of one-way traffic. Struggled a little bit defensively, didn't necessarily have that counterpart on the opposite end. Well, all of a sudden they're scoring goals left and right, but they're also conceding, so they're looking for that balance on both ends of the ball. Detroit City, we've discussed it tonight. We'll discuss it again on the weekend. They are just looking to keep themselves playoff relevant. Can they do it in the absence of Stephen Carroll if he's unavailable once again?
That game is your game. This game is my game. It's at 10 Eastern on Saturday night on ESPN2. What can I expect?
Finally, one of the better midfields in all the USL Championship, and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds is showing up, right? You've got your Canardo Forbes, who's back. You've got a back line that seems stable. The goalkeeper is all of a sudden playing very well. But they're matched up against the Sacramento Republic team that is really starting to hit its stride. Christian Perano is feeling much more comfortable. Russell Cicerone finally back in the attack. Do not count out Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Bob Lilly. Months of August on, averaging 1.91 points per game, and in the final 4 months of the year, 4 times in his tenure have they averaged 8 or more wins.
Well, this is it. The last few matches of this summer of soccer in USL Championship. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened, and make sure you're with us for each of these final 5 into the month of August. Now in USL Championship again, as hard as that is to believe. We've still got the second half of this one coming up as well on CBS Sports Network. It's a 1-0 lead for Hartford Athletic. They're in dire straits right now. Brendan Burke said every game from here on out basically is a playoff game, and so far they're passing this test against Detroit City. Almost time to begin half number 2 here in Hartford with the home side leading 1-0 over Detroit City FC. Massive game for both. trying to snap winless runs. Take you to the highlights from half number 1 to see how we get to this 1-0 Hartford lead.
Detroit City definitely kept better possession of the ball overall, but it wasn't really threatening. A lot of side-to-side action, and that's where Hartford came into play. Very aggressive coming forward. You got it out of Tristan Hodge on the left side. Certainly got it out of Yunus Boudadi on the right flank prior to his departure. Great cutback to the inside. And this is the one thing about Hartford Athletic, that over this stretch, although they are gaining more confidence, they haven't made the best of decisions. That was 19 minutes in. They changed that mentality 4 minutes later, keeping possession up high this time. They don't go initially on the first move. Smart decision, because they allow numbers to come up high. You get pressure on that back line, and all of a sudden Villanueva doesn't have his head on a swivel, doesn't recognize the pressure coming over the back shoulder. That is the inverted run by Deshane Beckford. He adds his 3rd goal of the season, courtesy of Danny Barrera in the 24th minute. 1-0 after 45 minutes of play.
And the stats from the first half paint a picture that really shows Detroit City was in control. 4 shots to the 3, nearly 60% of the possession, but just couldn't find any entry points through that back line of Hartford in half number 1 to find any really dangerous opportunities.
So that's the thing about it, right, is having a presence, and you can't be the one-trick pony. In the opening half for Detroit City, clean on the ball, good, maybe too clean. You have to take chances here, and that's what Hartford Athletic did, but they were calculated. If you're willing to advance yourself and step out of your comfort zone, as long as you have proper defensive coverage, that's fine. They didn't take enough chances. They didn't have a presence up top. Have to recreate it through the 2 being more active, or get a singled 9 to be more vocal and be more effective.
On that Hartford side, maybe it could be 2. They also had that 3-on-1 that they squandered. See if they can take some more chances, add to this lead. Half number 2 is on the way. before we begin half number 2 between Hartford and Detroit City, some big news from USL Championship today. Frank Yallop has parted ways with Monterey Bay FC. Had some success in his time there. They were in a position at the moment to make another playoff run, but they mutually agreed to part ways today. So a big vacancy now in the Western Conference in the playoff race. We'll see how things unfold out west. Back to the playoff race here in the East. It's Detroit City FC right now in a playoff spot with a cushion. It's Hartford Athletic needing to make up ground, but in the lead as we begin half number 2. Hartford right to left in the green, Detroit City left to right in the black. Happy to have you with us for this one alongside the ex-German pro Devin Kerr. I'm Joe Malfa. First 15 minutes of this second half, massive for both of these teams. Can Hartford continue to impose its will, especially the way they played defensively? Can Detroit City find a way back in? All the struggles they've had offensively. No changes made by either unit at the break. Still just the one sub that we've seen already. Yunus Badati went down injured in the first half for Hartford, replaced by Emmanuel Samadia. Like-for-like change at right back for the home side.
Yeah, but notice the little tweak on the inside. Jasil Cedeno coming a little bit higher. Ben Morris has come out to this right flank. Morris was the higher vision in the first half for Detroit City. Good idea by Dikio. This can allow Maxi Rodriguez to chase the game a little bit more. You'll still have the defensive coverage and work rate by Cedeno underneath. You also still have that creator. If Rodriguez stretches up high, Jasil Cedeno can cover the proper ground in that 10 roll. And Morris can certainly get the job done on the right flank.
You mentioned Maxi Rodriguez in that first half. He was 7th on the team. That includes the goalie in touches, and that's not what you want to see when it comes to your most productive player offensively. USL Summer of Soccer continues on CBS. Surging Detroit City FC, led by first-year head coach Danny Dikio, hosts newcomer Rhode Island FC with reigning USL Championship Player of the Year Albert Diqua. That's on August 3rd at 4 p.m. Eastern on CBS. Will they still be a surging Detroit City FC side going into that game? There was a time where it felt like they would threaten for the top 3 in the Eastern Conference. They had those games in hand, a conversation we had in the first half. The difference between games in hand or actually making them count. There was a time where it seemed they'd be up there among the top teams. You look back at a key moment in June where they went to Louisville and got thrashed in that one. At that point, they were on pace with the top teams in the East at a points per game basis, and you were talking about could they be number 1, number 2, number 3, and now the question for Detroit City is just can they hold on really to a playoff spot comfortably. Morris hides it ahead to the end line. Numbers in front, it's just over the head. Ryan Williams. The most threatening they've looked.
I would say the good news in that conversation for Detroit City is that over this stretch of 6 games that has only seen 3 points gathered once, everybody else behind them has struggled as well. So there's not a lot of ground being gained.
And Galena gaining some ground here. Looking to the back post, touched away by Steinwasser.
The team with only any sort of momentum really behind them has been the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. 2 wins and a draw in their last 3. Everybody else struggling for form, which sees Detroit City still sitting virtually 5 points above the playoff line.
is another game to be played tonight in USL Championship. So this one does not have the distinction of being the last game. Look out! Steinwasser a bit overconfident, trying to pull it past Dieng, and it's last off of Steinwasser for a corner. Will this come back to bite them? We'll finish that thought. New Mexico, Vegas coming up at 9 p.m. in USL Championship. That out west.
This is one way to try and give it away on the night. Remember I said for the back line. To be fair, I wasn't referencing Nate Steinwasser, more so on Devin Amumensa and Michael Bryant, that due to the aggressive nature on the front line, when in doubt, just knock it long.
Swinger here for Hartford. Dieng camped out under it. There's a lot of contact there. See the gesture from Dieng, basically saying he was wrapped in a bear hug. Things just seem to step slow from Detroit City in this one, even when it comes to playing out of the back. Another moment there where it gets knocked out. It was an attempted simple ball to get it up the field. Seems like it's missing a spark, missing an urgency at a time of the year where that urgency should be there in spades. There's Morris. Really haven't linked up with Job down that left side at all of this one. They've looked his way a few times, but they're on the same page.
I've never liked the idea of just having him maintain the positioning out there. I've always liked the viewpoint of starting him within the midfield, then allowing the shape to evolve to the outside, or when they shift in and out of a diamond, which doesn't happen all the time. There was a 4-game stretch about a month back where they tried to attack the game in that fashion. That's not so the case anymore. So if you start him there, what that does, Joe, is in a diamond, it gives him coverage on the outside. When you keep him there, you remove some of the best assets within his capabilities. Ball carrying, number one, his ability to have an influence on the game centrally, putting him outside. It's not enough touches on the ball, and he's not allowed to attack the center. Instead, you're asking for more speed in one-on-one situations. And when you're matched up against guys like an Apanono, like a Budati, certainly any of the substitutes that's come in, he's not going to win a foot race against them.
Part of the conversation we had with Brendan Burke about that midfield of Detroit City. He raved about how all those guys complemented each other so well between Rodriguez and Murphy and Job, and they just all have been out of touch in this one.
Well, I would say that at their best, the midfield pairing of James Murphy and Abdoulaye Diop, when they play them that way, for my money, one of the best pairings in USL Championship. They give you quality balance. They allow you to, both together or separate, go and attack the game, apply pressure up top, also sit in defensively. Great link-up play from back line to front. They can spray long balls. They've got the physical side of their game. They can do a little bit of everything.
Michael Bryant filling in again for Stephen Carroll on the back line. Switched out wide again toward Job. We'll get onto this one, Job. Looking for Rodriguez, touches it behind. Still loose in front for Morris on the giveaway. Morris through the traffic and saved! Parried away by Hibero and then cleared to safety.
Very well done down in the corner. I just talked about one of the biggest assets is Abdoulaye Diop. Look at him coming right up through the middle. His vision, always top quality, and I'm not sure as to whether or not you needed that heavy of a touch from Maxi Rodriguez.
It's a good idea, but you got the back post run by Ben Morris, who could have hit it dead on. Well done by Morris, by the way, to get anything out of this, coming back across the body. But how about the save by Ibarra on the back post? Multiple bodies in front of him, down, moving away from him. Top quality 10 minutes into the second half.
Seesaw of an attack there for Detroit City. It's ahead to Beckford. Steinwasser off his line. Had to time it to perfection and did. As quickly as it could have been 1-1 on this end, it could have been 2-0 on the other end.
A couple of times tonight, you can see why they miss Stephen Carroll so much, and that's not because he would have necessarily won that foot race against Shane Beckford after the 50-50 challenge. The line is unbalanced defensively. That flat four, when one steps, you don't have the proper coverage stepping in from behind. And Stephen Carroll is so good at playing that angles game while necessarily not having the same amount of speed as some of his opponents. Does a really good job of anticipating where some of that presence is coming from and stepping in front of the attacks. They've got to find a way to communicate better. That's where they're struggling the most within this match.
Signs of this one coming to life, though. Chances on both ends. Just wonder when, specifically on the Detroit City FC side, Danny Dicchio will dip into the bench. The likes of Alvis Amo, Victor Becerra, dangerous options to bring in. Alvis Amo especially could be one of those storybook nights for him. Here on the road against the team he played for last year. With Hartford last season, had 5 goals. And against the coach he played for in 2022, he was with the Switchbacks in 2022 under Brendan Burke. Scored 13 goals for his now former coach. So he's against his coach from 2 years ago and his team from last year as he sits on Detroit City's bench, waiting to make an impact. Mensa, Nueva, went in awkwardly, advantage played. Plenty of space here for Ngalina. Ngalina, looking back post, Steinwasser let it go. And it proves to be the right decision.
It's difficult to mark. Ngalina both right and left foot capability, but you have to push him to the outside and recognize that you've got to give yourself the ability to explode in right there. Just a little bit flat-footed from Matt Sheldon. Again, the line coming back across that ball. You got to have coverage. Michael Bryant, he jumps a little bit too early. As a defender, you cannot allow yourself to give the opposition the luxury of finding those square balls back across. Evan Almensa was there. One of the better teams in terms of the plus-minus points games, points lost in USL Championship play, Detroit City. It's one thing to me that in terms of what they're trying to do under Danny Dicchio, certainly better on the attacking side of the football, but I would say that their overall performance is more balanced comparing home and away than previous seasons.
Jope again, leading the attack for Detroit City. Morris turns, contact there. There's some hesitation by the referee Matthew Corrigan. He brought the whistle to the mouth but let it go in the end. Ngalina streaking through. It's fed his way, pulled from behind. Ngalina denied by Steinwasser. A lot to unpack there. The chance, the contact, everything.
You can also explain to me how the referee doesn't get involved in this situation. I understand that you're able to get an opportunity off it. That right there, you can still issue a card even though the opportunity has come forth from Michi Ngalina in behind the back line. There's no attempt whatsoever to make a play on that ball by Matt Sheldon. Be that as it may, great job by Nate Steinwasser, quickly coming off of his line to close down that space. And I would imagine the referee coming over to the sideline. Some very choice words in the technical area from Hartford Athletic.
Burke moving on into the book. And as you pointed out, for good reason, he can make every case that Hartford should be up 1-0 and up a man right now.
You're my in-house referee expert. Explain that one to
Actually,
me.
let my license expire this year. I forgot about it. But
Good.
I still took the courses. So
Awesome. Give me a reason as to why no one steps in there, please.
it's that split second where you think advantage because Angelina pushes through and takes the shot. And you never want to coach the dark arts of this sport. He goes down with that contact, it's a red card. He plays through it, nothing happens.
But you can also play advantage and still
100%.
give something for an infraction.
100%. Unfortunately, that's why in this game, again, it's a black mark on the game with people going down when they shouldn't. That's why people do, because he goes down there and it's 100% a red card. You take off all the ambiguity and you're up a man.
For the record, second time in the history of our relationship that we've agreed upon something. That's a flick on, beautiful touch. Well done.
Dieng has some help, plays it along. Beckford denied by Steinwasser. Maybe proving DQ right, going back to the goalkeeper from Saldana in the starting 11.
I'll give Nate Steinwasser a lot of credit here as he goes down behind the scenes. This is beautiful work up top by Momo Dieng. 2v1. The little flick up over. Watch him as he uses his body to his advantage. That little cut back across. Great job in the explosion. It's just a little half second that he uses to cut the ball in front of the defender. That does come off the chest. That is not off the hand. Well taken to the outside. And while certainly the quality of Beckford has taken steps this season, Brendan Burke very clear about that. You have to find a way in that situation to move the ball away from the goalkeeper. It's on your instep. You have good control. Go near post, go far post. Good save by Steinwasser, but he didn't make it difficult on the goalkeeper.
From the corner, Steinwasser has it tracked and slaps it away. Steinwasser has been a part of the fabric of Detroit City FC going all the way back to 2016 and carrying through their Nisa days into USL Championship. He was back-to-back Golden Glove winner in Nisa, and he's basically been the player of the year every year in USL Championship for Detroit City FC. It's the first time that his job has been called into question over the last couple of months now, as we've seen the oscillation back and forth between Saldana and Steinwasser getting a few starts each. You and I were fully of the lineup thinking that Saldana would get the start tonight. We see the lineup come out at Steinwasser, and again proving maybe through 63 minutes why that was the right choice tonight. Big save after big save, big moment after big moment in a game that maybe should be 2 or 3-0 in favor of Hartford. Angelina racing ahead. That's a dangerous prospect for any back line, but Bryant deals with it so well. Here come a trio of Detroit City changes. That'll be all for Cedeno, Morris, and Williams. Reese Williams, Victor Becerra, Daniel Espeleta. That's the interesting one. Only 48 minutes played this year for Espeleta. Some good run in U.S. Open Cup play. Espeleta, Fordham University product 2022. Spent a year in Nisa, then a year in Costa Rica with Grecia. 48 minutes this regular season. See what impact those changes may have on the complexion of this one. And DQ going for 3 at once. And now it's Hartford's turn to counter. Marcus Epps is up and ready. Told it'll be for Danny Barrera when it happens. And that'll happen right now. Marcus Sepp's a player who maybe hasn't lived up to expectations this year. Just a goal and 2 assists coming off a career year with FC Tulsa. 9 goals, 7 assists, both career highs last year. And it goes back to that broader theme of Hartford Athletic not reaching their full potential in the attacking end, given all the talent they have this year.
It's a much better shift, though, for Danny Bray within the midfield. Certainly created space for Homo Dieng up top, albeit not the best decision-making from some of the players down underneath. Good chance creation, though.
Barrera picked up a yellow on his way off the field.
Not leaving in a timely manner, always one of my favorites.
Through toward Rodriguez, it'll go Hartford's way.
I would imagine with the inclusion of Victor Becerra into this match, you'll see Abdoulaye drop a little bit deeper. He and James Murphy need to take control of this midfield and prohibit Hartford Athletic of coming up through the middle. Espeleta onto the near-sided ring. Reese Williams will go to the far side, and that'll give Maxi Rodriguez a little bit more luxury just in front of the two of Jope and Murphy to try and chase the game a little bit. He can pop up next to Victor Becerra, but those two come high, come low. Becerra is going to feel a little bit more comfortable as the point man, though.
Becerra's made his mark on this season. 3 goals in 12 appearances. Made his debut for Detroit City back in mid-April on loan from the Chicago Fire as of March 19th. He came in on loan, missed a month injured, and then has slowly been rounding into full form. But when he's been out there, he's been effective. Select, the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest Select product specials and more. Select, the player's choice. Wheels turning for Danny Dicchio. Makes those 3 changes. What else may follow? Just over 20 minutes remaining, chasing down 1-0. Maybe fortunate to only be down 1-0. Galina. Epps. Still waiting for more touches on the ball from Maxi Rodriguez. He thought that was going to be one of the outcomes of him being pushed further up the field, chasing the game of it, but it just hasn't come to fruition still. Maybe now with a different mixture of players around him. Way back for Steinwasser under some pressure. Bryant opens up, and they're signaling for more players now to come over to the halfway line for Detroit City. What's next for Dicchio? Only 3 subs used. Anguilla making life difficult for James Murphy. Espeleta, Rodriguez. See that switch again here. The wings. Hartford, it's back to Beckford on the right side, Galina on the left. And flopped it the other way. Last 15-20 minutes of the first half. Anyway, it's been set up. It's been effective. Those 2 dangerous all night long. And now as the game gets more stretched, Detroit City chasing for that goal. Skipping Galina. Beckford can use their speed. Wreak havoc, find a second. With 20 minutes to play. Glad to have had you with us this evening on CBS Sports Network alongside Devin Kerr. I'm Joe Malfa. Here's Danny Espeleta trying to get it back for Detroit City. Goes down and blocked by Tristan Hodge, and here is that space. Galina feeds Beckford, flag stays down. Deshane Beckford in front for Dieng, saved by Steinwasser. Rebound put in, but the flag is up. Timing has been off tonight for Dieng. It's a few times he's been offside now.
I'd make the argument on timing for both sides here. It's of the essence in the back line that just sits flat. You've got to step in this situation or continue to retreat, close down the angle and the options. And if you watch the two on the back line for Detroit City, they're stagnant. They don't commit to either one of the visions, so you allow the space on the far side to open up. Amu Mensah recognizes he's made the wrong decision, but notice the advancement by Dieng. He's too high. That ball either has to come horizontal or behind, even though you're in behind the back line. Because the player's advanced and the ball goes forward, that's why he's in an offside position. By the way, how does Nate Steinwasser get a hand on that first ball? It's an incredible save, whether in an offside position or not. The goalkeeper, not the best of first halves, has been excellent here in the second 45 minutes to keep his team in it.
There was a bit of a delay there. Matthew Corrigan, the referee, went out for a discussion with the assistant referee. Only thing that could have been was if the referee thought the offside was mistakenly given on the rebound, but cleared up by the assistant referee. It was off on the initial pass in, and very clear on our replays that was the case. So well done by the crew to make sure they got it worked out. And yeah, to your question, no idea how Steinwasser got a touch on that first one. He's been in some zone tonight. A couple of his best saves actually haven't counted because of offside flags.
And this is the problem you want if you're Danny Dicchio.
It's played in behind for Sheldon.
It's the back and forth you and I had in the first half about the quality and how high you can get it out of both goalkeepers when maybe the form wasn't there overall for your natural number one in Nate Steinwasser. Back and forth with Giancarlo Saldana. Statistically, Saldana certainly the better of the two. Electing to go with Old Faithful. By no means am I referencing his age. His goalkeepers are like a fine wine. And Steinwasser seems to continue to age well.
Rodriguez. Back through for Maxi Rodriguez. And his night in a nutshell finally has an opportunity through and a heavy touch.
Seems the overall quality for Maxi Rodriguez. Everything just a tad bit off tonight. Even though the moments have presented themselves, he hasn't been clean enough on the ball.
Amo up and ready at the halfway line, told it's going to be for Maxi Rodriguez. So that right there might be the final involvement. Down by Epps. Galina feeds Epps. Dieng making the run. Epps taken out. Ball won cleanly. Put in by Job to win it. Here's again Abdoulaye Diop. Rodriguez feeds it through for Espeleta. Another entry ball, another heavy touch, another moment gone for Detroit City. Villanueva. Through options here. Becerra turning. Becerra hitting. Deflected out for a corner. Espeleta was calling for it. He was open with him in the box.
Much better, though. I like the idea of Victor Becerra coming down underneath. We referenced that before, and a good job on the overlapping run by both Reese Williams and Villanueva to push that back line back to create the space for him in front of the 18. Again, if you're going to give numbers down underneath, that's totally fine. But you have to have somebody else step up high to make sure that you pin them back. That little move right there, it's a slight hesitation that doesn't allow Tristan Hodge to step in the first time on the tackle. That opens up the chance for Victor Becerra. Well done by Detroit City.
There is that change they've been waiting on. Rodriguez off. Mo on. Floated in from the corner. If you believe in storybook finishes in this sport, as a yellow card is given to Joey Appanonu, nothing storybook about that, but if you believe in storybook finishes in this sport, Elbasamo might have something to do with these final 14 minutes. Again, played for Brendan Burke in 2022 with Colorado Springs Switchbacks. Had a career year with 13 goals and 4 assists. Spent last year here with Hartford, 5 goals and 2 assists. So against his former team and his former coach, 2 different spots. Now with Detroit City, coming on atop the line, giving chase here. Chasing a goal. 3 goals, 2 assists this season for Amo. Been limited due to injuries. This only his 13th appearance, 8 of those starts. Anguilla striding ahead, brought down, free kick awarded. Before he tried to play advantage, nothing came about.
Trying to find a way to fight themselves back in here this evening. Hartford Athletic, even though they're sitting on a 1-goal lead, Detroit City. Danny Dicchio, quality changes that have affected the game. Changed the shape just a tiny touch, certainly given more structure into the midfield with Abdullah Job coming deeper next to James Murphy and space finally opening up for them.
Samaria standing over it. Samaria scooping it, edge of the 6, had some bodies there. Appanonu and Farrell were waiting, but now both center backs are out of position. Covered though by Anguilla, and all the way back to Ibero. Only had 1 save to make in this one. It was a big one. Now Anguilla goes down. His own in the midfield. He'll continue as Hartford has an opportunity here. Beckford to switch back to the left side now. Beckford goes for goal and saved by Steinwasser again.
Well, if, and that's a big if, Detroit City are able to get anything out of this, it's because of that man right there, Nate Steinwasser, who within this second half has reached a whole nother level of quality. Shouldn't be unexpected. Just haven't seen that enough from the goalkeeper in the 2024 campaign.
And in the stands, you've got Steve McKee on hand, CBS producer At the game tonight, his nephew, James Murphy, part of Detroit City in the starting lineup tonight. Steve played soccer at Seton Hall, 1996 Male Scholar Athlete of the Year. James Murphy's father, John, was on that Seton Hall Big East Championship team in 1991 as well.
Good story, by the way. Our first USL on CBS game earlier this season, to be fair, was actually our second game, but first one on big CBS. Louisville demolished, at that point in time, a struggling Indy 11. Ran into him, asked me about Detroit City. I said, you know, how I felt about them, told him how one of my favorite players was, in fact, James Murphy. And he goes, oh, it's funny. It's my nephew. And I went, woo, okay, we're good to go, boys. Didn't know at that point in time that there was any sort of relationship, so I guess it pays to tell the truth, right?
It pays to tell the truth, and pays to sometimes just be nice, even if it's not the truth, because you never know who's on the other end of that conversation.
Number 6,
And Hairston comes on for the injured Kangila. That's going to do it, by the way, for subs now for Hartford. They're going to take 2 with them into the month of August because they've used all 3 windows. 1 sub in each window. No windows remaining. 2 subs gone by the wayside tonight. Unfortunate position, though, for Brendan Burke. He had to make 2 changes because of injury.
Also lacking a little bit of depth within the midfield as the year has gone on. You know, some rumors circulating about the possibility that Jay Chapman could be on the move to the Charleston Battery. Aaron Malloy going down, and initially feared that his injury could be season-ending. Not the case now, and you know, go and grab someone like Jay Chapman to bring him in, a guy over 100+ experiences at the top flight level in the United States with MLS. Of course, Dundee across the pond. An understanding of what Brendan Burke wants, as he was with Colorado Springs Switchbacks last season. Now, certainly Brendan Burke wasn't there as he was an assistant for the Houston Dynamo, but foundation already laid. You have James Chambers, who's there, Stephen Hogan, Alan McCain. Good understanding of what this head coach wanted, even though he wasn't there. And what a luxury that would be for the Charleston Battery, Lee Cohen, Ben Pierman, if those rumors are actually true.
Loaded in again from Detroit City. Alu Mensa was under it. Still have those bodies forward. From the free kick, Espeleta keeps it alive. Jope with it now. Abdoulaye Jope cutting, puts it in front. And scooped up by Ibero. Stretch coming up now for Hartford if they can hold on and win this. What sort of momentum it might give them going into the month of August. They go at Birmingham Legion right now in 5th place. Then they're at Rhode Island FC, also above the playoff line. They come back home Hartford for 2, 1 against Las Vegas, 1 against Louisville, and they end August the way they end July with a match against Detroit City FC, this time though on the road. So it's an interesting mix of teams. Hartford tries to track down a playoff spot. They play a couple of those Eastern Conference teams that they're chasing. Rhode Island on 28 points, Detroit City on 28 points, Birmingham Legion on 31. This one played in now, Detroit City. Caps ends up with it. Galena lets it run out of play. So the ground is there to be made up. Back to our conversation about points in hand versus points in the bush. Go back to that cliche. Points aren't quite in hand right now for Hartford, but they have those games that are coming up. Those opportunities to ascend if things click. Have to see these 3 points over the finish line, though. Bobbled in front, but it's because of a foul against Becerra.
Now there's 2 conversations to be had in this situation in the 85th minute. Number 1, you can't really blame Victor Becerra for trying to go up and attack this ball. Well put in, by the way. All you're trying to do is lure the goalkeeper off his line and then come up. The problem is his momentum is drifting towards the goalkeeper. that infraction in the middle of the field against another player, the referee would call the whistle because you're going positive in nature and not straight up. Certainly going to be the case right around the 6-yard box, where 99.9% of the time the referee, understandably so, is going to protect the goalie.
Plenty of fun to be had among the crowd. At this point, with 5 to go, perhaps another win at home is in the script tonight. Would bring them to 5-3-3 at home, Hartford, compared to 1-8 on the road.
He hasn't had a ton to do tonight, Beto. And he recognizes the second that he comes off his line, the way that he's reaching, he knows there's going to be contact there. You can tell by how quickly he steps off and then just has to turn. He's trying to recognize the fact that there is a presence over that back shoulder by Detroit City. A lot of credit tonight, by the way, to Joey Farrell and Apononu on the back line. They've done a really good job of keeping the game in front of them, making sure that, for the most part, any sort of threats that are sent their way have been lateral, pushing things side to side, not allowing any players to get in behind, certainly not in transitional moments.
They're all ready to go. Devin, part of this job for me sometimes involves putting you on the spot.
PG-13 show, be careful.
You look at the standings right now, as we're a couple of hours away on the East Coast from getting into August. We'll wait until Shane Beckford has his say here. Takes it to the corner, a couple of minutes remaining. Snakes it through. Beckford, well done. Goes to the back post, and it's out for a goal kick. But we are on a point now again. 2 hours, 38 minutes to be exact from August. The 8 teams above the playoff line in the Eastern Conference. Will all 8 make it, or will there be anybody who falls out and anybody replaced?
You're asking me to choose right now, today?
I don't have to get a specific from you. Just blanket statement. Are the 8 that are currently
No.
in? No.
They don't all 8 get in.
Okay. You can give specifics if you want, but I don't want to go that far without any prep and any digging. Just general statement. Was curious if you thought the 8 current teams in would be the 8 at the end of the season. So no. So you think at least one falls out and is replaced by somebody else. Time will tell.
Well, I'd like to try and get myself a Labor Day invite to some sort of picnic this year. And, you know, it's around this time every single year that I get myself into trouble.
That's why I asked you.
I feel the way that both Pittsburgh and Hartford are capable of playing presents a real challenge to the teams in front of them. You talked about the schedule and their ability, for both of these teams, to be fair, to have some of those 6-point swings and chase teams down. For Bob Lilly to average close to 2 points per game, August and games later in the season, that scares me. That tells me that no matter what, since his arrival at Pittsburgh in 2018, he's always found a way to get the best out of his squad in the final third of the year. And as troubling as it's been to start the season, they're only 5 points back of that. So that gives them, you know, they're right there. And then even Hartford right now, virtually 6 points back. Makes me a little bit nervous if I'm Loudoun, Detroit, or Rhode Island.
Williams. Now the overhead effort from Amo. 90 seconds remaining of the 90 minutes. Their change on the way now for Detroit City. And Russ will replace Abdoulaye Diop. And as we have all our conversations about what may or may not transpire down the stretch of the USL Championship season, you can go ahead and watch it all on CBS Sports and ESPN platforms all season long. You can catch live matches, expert analysis every day on the CBS Sports Golasso Network and ESPN+. You can go to USLChampionship.com for the complete USL TV listings. We will not be short on drama the rest of the way. And I ask you that question about the Eastern Conference. I don't even got to ask you that question about the West. The West, as the cliche would say, is wild, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have 2 or 3 playoff spots change hands between now and the end of the year in the West.
This is number Hartford, number 23,
Mamadou Dieng picks up the yellow.
Momo Dieng, same thing we just saw on the other end. On the challenge by Victor Becerra, excuse me. Just coming in from behind. Momentum drifting over. Is there anything left whatsoever for this Detroit City team? Have to be a little bit more aggressive. That's a foul behind the scenes.
6 minutes stoppage time tacked on. Espeleta trying to latch on. There's contact there at the edge of the area. It's going to be a throw-in after all of that for Detroit City, and a yellow card to Hairston for contact up the field.
Yellow card assessment to Hartford, number 94. Paul Pearson. Card assessment stoppage time.
Chris Williams picks one up as well. That one for some extra chatter to the plate. Hartford's first victory again since June 15th, 2-0 at home against the Pittsburgh River Hounds. Clean out of the gates hot, 3 wins in their first 4, Hartford. Are people excited? Petered off after that. But let that be an indication that they can turn it up. And they can still have a say in this playoff chase. Again in the live table, 6 points back of the line. Detroit City, on the other hand, unless they come up with something in the next 4.5 minutes, this will be 5 straight without a victory. 3 losses, 2 draws in that span since they beat Miami FC back at the end of June. That was part of the end of a good stretch for them as well. They had won 3 out of 4 at that point, and then it disappeared. 4 minutes to play. Way back for Apenonu. Farrell almost got himself into some trouble, trying to find a way out of it, and he does. Only just. That maybe not the chance you want your center back to take with 3 and change to go. Here in stoppage time, up a goal. Defender falls down for Hartford. To the end line, Chris Williams goes, and now a corner on the way, halfway through stoppage time.
Great recovery, though, from Emmanuel Samadia. He lost his footing, and his ability to regain his balance quickly, get back onto his feet, and then catch the quality touch that was Rhys Williams on the outside. Turned around as well, I might add. Shigalini's over the shoulder, but that's all Samadia.
A lot of traffic in front on this corner. Header toward goal. Still loose in front. Amo goes for goal. Is it in? Detroit City was pleading that it was over the line and brought back out by Ibero, but referees say no.
I don't think there was any idea whatsoever that this actually crossed the line. Michael Bryant doing a good job to keep it up, and Elvis Amo, he's trying to go direct to goal. Probably better to compose himself, take a touch, and look at the options that he had. Look behind the ball, Bryant's available. Espeleta as well.
That might be one of the most important saves Steinwasser's made tonight. Header back his way from Amu Mensah. If that goes out, it's a corner, and it's another minute taken off the clock. Instead, he's able to get it back up the field the other way. Here's Amu Mensah. Becerra calling for it. It's stuck through his way, and it's last off of Becerra. Brilliant bit of defending by Joey Apenonu, who's fired up in the aftermath. They have the veteran in the midfield, Marlon Hairston, 30-year-old with a decade of MLS experience. As Apenonu's fired up, you have Hairston telling everybody to calm down, calm down. Still a couple minutes remaining, keep composure. There again, Apenonu. Minute and a half of stoppage time remaining. mention that we are not officially the final game of July. We've got New Mexico hosting Las Vegas out west, and 25 minutes in, it's Vegas up 1-0 on the road. All of a sudden, Vegas, one of the hottest teams in USL Championship. They haven't lost since May 25th. In that span, 4 wins, 5 draws. It's seen them climb all the way up to 5th place now in the West. Williams curling, touched away by a barrel. For Becerra. Taken away. Galina coming back to the defensive work now in the final minute, but he falls asleep on it. Williams takes it back. Here's Williams, brought down by Samaria. It's a goal kick, and that might bring us to the end. One last effort in this now for Detroit City. Beyond the 6 minutes. Corrigan letting it play out. Arrow took a while to get the goal kick back into play, but they have to hurry now. Going the wrong way, and there's the final whistle. Hartford Athletic has its first victory since June 15th. They said that every game from here on out is a playoff game if they want to make the playoffs. You could put a check mark by the first one for Brendan Burke and company.
Detroit City just really struggled to get any sort of rhythm within this game. Kenny Dicchio tried to chase it in a different fashion. Didn't have control within the midfield, no presence up top, and they struggled defensively all night long. Not the case for Brendan Burke and Hartford Athletic. A couple of opportunities up top. They grabbed their goal 24 minutes in and are now 6 games unbeaten in 2024 when scoring first. That includes 5 wins and their first against Detroit City in club history. I asked them to be positive, I asked them to stretch the game, and while maintaining balance the entirety of the time, they did so. Well-deserved 3 points.
And it's back-to-back clean sheets as well for Hartford Athletic. Are they starting to round into form to make this playoff push as we turn tomorrow the calendar to August? Shane Beckford's goal holds up. Detroit had a couple of opportunities, but no dice. Hartford finishes it off, a 1-0 victory. We come back in a moment to Trinity Health Stadium to wrap things up as Hartford continues to celebrate. Fans going home happy tonight. An extra oomph when they wave the flag as Hartford takes it 1-0 over Detroit City FC. A much-needed 3 points. Their first win since mid-June. As we take a look at the highlights, it was Shane Beckford who had the moment when it mattered most for Hartford in this one.
The good news was Detroit City played this game up high and had a lot of possession. The bad news was when they were on the defensive, they really struggled in their transitional moments. They didn't have enough communication. They didn't have proper coverage, and they left open a lot of space. So that plays into the hands of Hartford Athletic. 24 minutes in, good movement coming the other direction, but they had to slow down here. And this is where I really think they start to take a step on the attacking side of the ball. Their success is predicated upon quick movements from men, and that's not the case. They started fast, slowed down. The Danny Barrera recognized he needed more players up high. He gets that from Shane Beckford on the back post within 24 minutes, 1-0.
Actually surprising that it finished 1-0 given all the opportunities that Hartford had. Nate Steinwasser was terrific at one end, and coming up big on this end, just the once, but once was enough, was Hannah Hebero.
Just prior to the substitution that saw Victor Becerra come into the game, they saw a little bit more interplay, and that continued forth for Detroit City. But poor decision-making. Still, Maxi Rodriguez doesn't need that heavy of a touch. Morris doesn't need to touch this back to the outside. You've got a trailing runner. You can't pick out any of that. And as they continued to be more aggressive, which they needed to be, a lot of space in behind. But that's where Nate Steinwasser started to take another step in quality. He was incredible in the second half, making save after save, usually having to come well off of his line, providing pressure onto the oncoming strikers. This one in an offside position. Actually gets a hand on the first save, but much better from Hartford Athletic in transitional moments. This was about timing. Both teams lacking on the night.
Hartford gets a little bit closer now as you take a look at the standings here. It's just a question of will they run out of time? Can they keep the form? But they're closer now than they were when the day started. 6 points back.
There's a vision there, right? And sometimes you listen to a manager and they spew off this PR jargon of, yes, we can do this. Oh, we're going to change that. Believe in the process. I do believe in the process that is Brendan Burke and Hartford Athletic. He said he's even struggled at times as to whether or not he needs to change. Tonight proved, do not deviate from your flight path. Keep everybody on the same idea of what you started this season with. For Detroit City, head up. You have an opportunity to right your wrongs in a couple of days' time, and you get to go back to Keyworth, that stranglehold of a ground that they seem to play much better at in front of their fans, albeit against a streaking Rhode Island squad.
You mentioned a couple of days' time. It's right there. The two teams on 28 points. Detroit City FC, Rhode Island FC, as the summer of soccer continues for USL Championship. That's Saturday, 4 Eastern on CBS. Detroit City against Rhode Island FC. That'll do it for us, though, tonight. It's Hartford Athletic who takes it 1-0 over Detroit City FC. For the crew that makes this possible, and broadcast partner Devin Kerr, I'm Joe Malpa saying so long for now. A fired-up Hartford Athletic take a much-needed 3 points from Detroit City on their home ground. Good night, everybody. They could get him more involved as we get further and further into this first half. Now it's sent his way. Dieng just over his head, but there's somebody behind him to clean it all up, and Hartford leads 1-0. It's Shane Beckford with his third of the season.
whole conversation for Hartford Athletic is when they do move forward, and they can be venomous in nature, they have to have options inside the top of the 18. Good job slowing down the route of play on the outside, and as they do, that allows 3 separate players to enter the conversation inside the top of the box. Great vision here by Danny Barrera, and he has the luxury, as he pings this thing back